Welcome everyone. I'm here with Tamsin. Today we're going to talk about habits of communication in a digital world. Tamsin, do you want to kick us off?
Hello, hello. Lovely to be here. Thank you. So one of the things that I'm getting more and more interested in the world that we live in is how we are creating all of these epic tools like AI and all of these softwares and ways of helping us be more efficient, be more connected, keep track of things, connect people from all over the world. But one of the things that I think is really important is the inner work that we have to do, because we are still humans, right? We have to continue to focus on our own internal habits, our own internal mindset, and the big juicy vision for our lives and business and the world beyond that we are trying to create. Because if we step back and let technology take over, we will find ourselves in a situation where we forget about that inner peace. And ultimately, we're still all humans at the end of the day, because I don't think we've quite got to the Terminator state yet.
Yeah, I love it. I think so many people are focused on progress, and whether you are trying to grow your company's revenue or whether you're trying to grow your role inside of a company, thinking, let me just get this next project done, let me just get the next promotion, let me just get the next revenue milestone as a CEO, whatever. People are doing this progress, but not realizing that progress and the growth is infinite. And so if we just focus on technology and tools and AI and like, okay, cool, this thing is the next thing, it's an infinite thing. So until we actually focus on the habits and enjoying today and doing the habits, we're not actually gonna help our mental health.
Right, exactly. And also the other part of that, which is the relationship, right? It's the relationships we have with each other and the relationships we have with the technology, right? When I was an undergrad, we called it organizational psychology, right? It was like how do human computer interaction, that was how it was described in the 90s, right? Like how is us as humans, are we interacting with technology, with software, with hardware, and with other people? Because, ultimately we are social beings. And so if we are not doing the work to create alignment, and the thing that for me is the biggest part of this, and I was actually having this conversation with Brett Butler this morning, is the alignment between how we show up online and how we show up in person. The alignment between what we think and talk about and what we actually show up and do, our actions, right? And with technology, it's very easy for those lines to get broken, right? Technology can create this epic website, this amazing LinkedIn profile. The person meets you in the flesh and they're like, there's a break here, right? Same with dating profiles, right? There are so many ways that this plays out, right? We have to create that alignment. It's also with the people we talk to and the relationships we have, right? If somebody keeps saying something to you, but their actions are not in alignment with what they're saying, it creates that lack of trust. So, all of this external software and support that we are creating as a society is really going to shift how we show up. And we've seen it over the last 20 years, massively change how we show up. But we have to remember that we are still humans.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I think of it, and tell me the way you're thinking about it too, but when you say the word alignment, I'm thinking of it in terms of, let me make sure that I'm aligned with my 2, 5, 10 goals. Mm-hmm. Let me make sure when I partner up with somebody in a relationship or whatever, or in any capacity of relationship, that I'm aligned with them, and ideally like our 2, 5, 10s, whatever, line up, because I always talk about 2, 5, 10s obsessively. And then if I'm using a technology, my relationship with that technology would be like, how is this conducive towards like my 2, 5, 10? That's how I'm viewing alignment. How are you talking about alignment?
So that alignment is very important. For me, it's, this quotation I like is, we judge ourselves on our intentions, we judge others on their actions, right? So we are only privy to what's going on inside us unless we are effectively communicating that with other people, right? So I might judge you based on what you're saying and doing, but you may be thinking something completely different, right? And the way it comes through. So for me, when I'm talking about that inner alignment, it's the inner alignment between, I have a thought about something, I share this thought through written word communication, and then I follow through with actions that are in alignment with that. Because what I've seen from coaching people in this space and what I see in the mental health world is that when those three are in alignment, you build self-trust. And none of this works if you are not constantly cultivating self-trust through those inner alignments, through that inner work, and then how you're then showing up in practice in the real world, right? With the technology, with the other people in the very communities you operate within.
I love it. I love it. And do you see that technology in some cases for some people is just bringing them out of alignment, or that we just need to have a focus on like, hey, let's use this in an aligned kind of a way?
So I think for some people, when they use technologies to create an image of themselves that is not real, that's when you get it out of alignment, right? So, dating is a classic example of this, right? Somebody creates an image of themselves and you meet them in person and you're like, that photo was from 10 years ago, or you used a lot of blurring features, or fill in the blank right there. Or like I said, like somebody's got an amazing website and you meet them in person and their website says that there's this epic speaker, and then when you meet them in person, they can't quite, and you're like, there's a break there, right? So that's one way that I think is really, problematic. But then also, creating a relationship with technology is like creating a relationship with food, with sleep, with the people in your life, right? It's how are you showing up in relation to this thing, right? Are you expecting it to be transactional? Is it promotional? Is it transformational? How are you viewing this technology and what it's doing in your life, and how much access are you giving, right? There's so many sort of nuances around that.
I would say then it also goes to, if we're looking at, okay, so somebody shows up fake or not so real online, right? Then it's like, I see the human behind that. The technology is the tool, but the human behind that, there's a human that is showing up saying, I feel not good enough. I need to put on some sort of facade to show in a certain way for the world, and I maybe need to go and work on building more confidence or just being more authentic me and not worrying about what other people think.
Right, no, that's definitely part of it. And then there's the other piece, like, I was diagnosed with ADHD last year, and that for me has been a huge, like, opening into how can I use technology to support me, right? So rather than seeing it as I need technology to improve me because I see it as a deficit, right? And in that lens, I see, oh, I have ADHD, my brain works in this particular way. How can I use particular software, AI, etc., to support the way that my brain works, right? So for me, using software recording systems like Fathom, which creates summaries for me, is great, because then I'm not trying to type the notes as I'm talking to somebody, and I can be fully present in the conversation, because that's how my brain works better, right? So again, part of it's to do with the lens with which you go into these relationships too.
I love it. How do you view ADHD as something where it's like more fixed, or something that you can kind of go into and maybe even like practice muscles to be a little more focused?
I think so. There is a lot of research to show that ADHD has a genetic basis, right? So there is definitely some kind of biological basis for it. There is also a lot of research that's starting to show that particular experiences, like particular trauma and so on, can also trigger ADHD-like symptoms, and that it can also be comorbid with things like anxiety or depression, where either the way your brain works creates anxiety and depression because you don't fit into the normal mold, or that your anxiety and depression makes it hard to focus, so you have symptoms like ADHD. So it can be quite complicated. The way that I view it is that we know that our brains are plastic, they are mobile, they are trainable. The environments we move within, the relationships we have, if you go into it with that lens, with the kind of epigenetic lens of the genes are the blueprint, but how you choose to show up in your life can massively change the expression of the genes. So for me, I see it as empowering. Firstly, because if every brain worked the same way, we wouldn't have the world we created, right? We need people who have different focuses, different abilities, different attentions to different kinds of details, the ability to bring people together, the ability to step back and look at, make connections, right? So there's a lot of parts of the ADHD brain which is epic and amazing and awesome, right? So, but the way that we've structured academia and education and society and learning in so much of the world makes ADHD seem like a disability. And what's interesting is the different communities you go into, some people are like, you have a disability. And I'm like, there's a big part of me that rejects the idea that it's a disability, rather than it's just a different way of functioning. And the more I understand and learn about it, the more that I can improve the bits that I need improving, / hire out, find support, technology, people, systems to fill the gaps of things that don't work for me, right?
Yep, I love it. I love it. I have some ADHD CEO clients and some non, and then some people that feel like they may be. I may even be, but haven't checked. If we have a bear running at us, we're going to be focused on that. If we have another bear running at us, we're going to be focused on that. Now we're splitting our attention across two different things. If I have 2 or 3 different desires, I want a relationship, I also want a company, I also want to get a fit body, I have all these different things, right? My brain's starting to split. And so a lot of people can, I think, whether you have ADHD or not, like you, but like anybody, you can look at how are you split across desires and fears. And if we start to solve different fears and focus different desires and put them maybe in a certain order, then we can start to drive more attention. And so I tend to push people towards that, or at least encourage that lens. And we're about 10 seconds left. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but we may have to just do more calls.
I think the final thought I would have is take time to stop, pause, and regroup, because there's always a new way to get out of there, to learn new skills, to look inside and connect with others. So, if you ever feel stuck, there is a solution.
I love it. Thank you, Tamsin.